Lincoln's death. Of course, we have no way of proving that or disproving it. But it could be, but it may not, very well may not be too. So.
Right, so unless you can prove it, but it was not.
Now, did he lie and stay around in the middle of the room?
About where the center of the lower dais is. The lower dais was removed. All the furniture in here was taken out, and the place was then completely redecorated as in the Victorian style of mourning. And so the casket was there, and the top of the stand that the casket was on, the pedestal, was sloped at about a 30-degree angle. It was because it was an open coffin, so they tilted it up so that people could see his face better. And at 10 o'clock in the morning on May 3rd, the honor guard here opened those doors and started to let people in. And they came through those doors literally shoulder to shoulder, steady street. They came up to the side gates down here in front of the casket, paid their respects, side gates over there, out, and then down the south doors over here, outside. In 24 hours, son, 75,000 people walked through this room in one day. And then the doors closed. There were about 20 to 25,000 more people in line outside who did not even get in. And the population of Springfield on the same day was just 16,700.
Wow.
A young man whose father was in the legislature here was, because of his relations, was privileged enough to be able to go to the cupola on top of this building the day of Lincoln's funeral. And he kind of wrote down his observations and his thoughts that night in his journal. And he wrote about the people who were camped out around Springfield. He says, as far as my young eyes can see, nothing but tents, campfires, wagons, and horses. People were camped out from one side of this county to the other, maybe farther.
And this is where the hat is, and the shawl's marking where President Lincoln actually sat. And this is the room where he gave the House Divided speech.
Oh, that's wrong.
Yes. Yeah, excellent.
I'm going to be taking you through the house here in just a few minutes. If you have any questions while we're going through the house or while we're out here, just feel free to ask me. I want to welcome you on behalf of myself and the National Park Service. Thanks for coming. This site here is a very important site for all of us because it honors a very important man of our history. And we hope by the time you leave today, you'll understand just a little bit more about why he is so important. Have you gotten the opportunity to look around the neighborhood any yet? Not yet? Okay. This neighborhood, we do have it set up as an 1860 style neighborhood because that's when Mr. Lincoln lived here, and that's the type of a neighborhood he would have known. Now back in his day, this was a brand new developing subdivision right on the very outskirts of town. Nowadays pretty much feels like downtown Springfield, so time has changed the area quite a bit. But pretty much all these homes that you see do date back to that time period, so they would have been actually some of Lincoln's neighbors. We've got two of his neighbors' homes that are open for you to go through. Beside the Lincoln house, that little gray one over there has some exhibits on how we've redone the neighborhood. And in front of the home, this two-story brown one over here has some exhibits a little bit more about the Lincoln family inside that one. So those are the two you can visit afterwards if you'd like to. Now when we go inside the Lincoln home, you're going to see some gray carpeting. We ask that you stay on that gray carpeting at all times. Also ask that you try not to touch anything and that there's no food, drinks, or gum in the home. These are all measures that we're trying to take to preserve and protect this house. So I want you to just be extra conscious we're going through, not to lean up against the doorways or walls for me. Now the wallpaper and carpeting that we're going to see in the home, it's not original, but it is very similar to what the Lincolns did have because we found drawings that were done when the Lincolns lived there, and we matched that wallpaper and carpeting up with what's in the drawings. The furnishings in the home, most of them are period antiques, which means they just came from that time period that the Lincolns lived there. We don't have a whole lot of the original furniture because when they left this house to go to Washington, they ended up selling much of the furniture. So we just weren't able to get a lot of it back. But what we do have, I'll try to point out to you as we go through. A good rule to remember about the furniture is if it has black upholstery on the furniture, then it's probably going to be original to the Lincolns. If it doesn't have that black upholstery, then it's most likely not the Lincolns. So that'll help you determine what's original and what's not. Any questions about anything you got so far?
Hey, allowed to take pictures?
You sure are allowed to take pictures, yeah. Important question,
You're
right?
gonna be famous.
All right. Before we go in the house, let me ask you a few questions. By a show of hands, how many of you have ever moved to a new house? I know somebody had because they just told us back there a few months ago, yeah. Have you ever changed jobs?
Nope.
Moved to a new school? Yeah, so I think all of us have had some type of changes like this before in our life. What type of feelings might you have been having when you had that change? Were you a little scared about the move, a little unsure about it? You might have been sad because you were having to leave something behind. Yeah, a little anxious even. Just a huge mix of emotions, I think, occur to all of us when we have those changes like that. Well, I had those exact same feelings here about 5 months ago. I moved here from Tennessee, from a small little country town to here to Springfield. It's a big change for me, and I didn't know exactly what to expect. Didn't know anybody here in town, so I was a little scared about the move and sad because I had to leave my family behind, but still at the same time excited because of all the new people I get to meet and all the experiences I'd had. So just huge mix of emotions going through me. Well, Lincoln had all these exact same feelings back in 1860 and 1861. You see, he lived here in this home for 17 years. 3 of his 4 sons were born here in this home. He was very comfortable here. In the mornings, you might picture him walking up the 4 blocks up to his law office. The afternoon, he might be coming home, maybe carrying groceries for his wife or stopping to play with the neighborhood kids. So he's friends with all of his neighbors and just very comfortable here. But a very exciting event happened for him. He got elected president, which meant he would get to change jobs, go be president, get to move houses, move to the White House, and make all sorts of changes for everyone. So I'm sure he's having all those exact feelings that we had, even along with sadness because he had to leave his house, his friends, and his neighbors behind. Well, on top of all those feelings he had, another event had happened. You see, when he got elected president, 7 states left the Union because they didn't want him to be their president. They disagreed with him on his views of slavery. He thought slavery was evil and that it was wrong, and that's what those 7 states disagreed with him on. So when he got to the White House, some people were giving him advice on what to do in that situation. Some people were saying, let those states go. We don't need them to be a part of us. They're ruining our dream of equality. Some other people were saying, no, bring those states back to us. Let them be a part of us. Let them keep slavery as long as a war doesn't happen. Now, it's a very tough spot that Lincoln was in, because no matter what that decision was that he made, he wasn't exactly for sure what the outcome would be. But the decision that he did make made him be one of our greatest presidents, because he was able to eventually reunite those states, bring those states together, and he also ended slavery. And that's why he's such an important man of our history, and probably one of the reasons why you did come to visit his house today. Any questions about anything before we go in? Well, if you're ready, let's go visit his house.
Oh. This is the room where if the Lincolns had any visitors or any guests, this is that room that they would have been brought to. So this is where parties and things like that would have happened for the family. Now in 1860, a very important event happened here in this room. This is where Lincoln received the formal nomination for him to run for president under the Republican Party. So it's a very important event for him and his family. Kind of the beginning of that route out to Washington that he made. And remember, furniture and black upholstery. So all these chairs and sofas, they are original and are the pieces of furniture that Lincoln had when he was here. Any questions about anything?
Yeah, did he move from this area to here? Or
No, there was some transition years. He did move to Springfield, but not here in this house. After he left Springfield, he lived for a while over a general store, just kind of rented a room over the store. And it wasn't until he met Mary and they got married that they moved from there, and they rented a few other cottages before they actually moved here in the house. But this is the only house that the family ever owned. Yep. And after they left this house to go to Washington, the Lincolns still kept ownership of the house, but they ended up renting the house. There were about 4 other families that lived here after the Lincolns. And when Mary and Lincoln both died, the oldest son, Robert, came to inherit the house, and that's when he sold it to the state in the 1880s. So this house has been preserved and on tour since about that time. It's pretty impressive. Yep. Okay, any other questions? All right, take a look on down into the dining room. We're going to meet in the red sitting room now.
Damn. Look
Yeah.
at that prehistoric.
Prehistoric, yeah. Plastic.
I wondering why the house will change.
Should say stay here? Yeah, looks pretty fresh, isn't it?
Wait, so
There's a black upholstered chair. Yeah.
there's
Move on a minute.
a strange room.
Keep scooting down if you can a little bit. Try to make 2 rows, one towards the banister and one back toward the room. You'd probably just call this your family room nowadays. So this is where Lincoln, his wife Mary, those 4 sons, this is that room that they would have been in. You might picture Mary sitting in one of those chairs reading a book out loud to her boys, who would be playing here on the floor in front of the fireplace. Lincoln, if he's home, he'd probably be on the floor with them also, because he liked to play games with them. So he might have been playing dominoes or wrestling with his boys. That box on the table with the 2 eye holes, that's called a stereoscope. And that actually was one of the boys' toys that they had when they were here. You put pictures in there and it'd make the pictures look 3D. So it's their form of entertainment. Kind of like a Viewmaster. You had one of those when you were younger. Any questions? From here we will be going upstairs. Use these handrails because the stairs are very steep. We're going to take a look in the grill.
Oh, yeah, I am, but I'm gonna wait.
So these rails, actually, President Lincoln touched.
That's why I'm
Just
holding
touching
it
that.
all the way because the boat held it in any spot. Even these steps. Even these steps.
Oh, black upholstery, so. Are we telling us that these were the
We already
furniture?
saw one. There's an old newspaper, an old couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now people are like, wow, look at all this wallpaper.
Stay on the gray carpet, correct? Stay on the gray carpet.
Room across the hall there, that was the family's guest bedroom, room that you're in right now, and this room here behind me. This was all considered one big room. This was their bedroom suite. So the side of this room that you're in right now, this is the man's dressing side, basically Lincoln's room. Side here behind me is the woman's dressing side, Mary, his wife's room. Not at all uncommon in those days for the man and the woman to have 2 separate sleeping areas. Can scoot in a little bit more, we got a few in the hallway. Here in this room, the desk in the very back corner, that's original to the family. And also the shaving mirror here by the door. It gives you a good idea of how tall of a man he was at 6'4". Neat thing to notice is the wallpaper. We were able to find an actual piece of wallpaper still in good condition and reproduce the exact pattern that was here when Lincoln was here. The same bright blue and everything. How would you like to wake up to this every morning? It's pretty bright. Any questions?
The glasses over here, those are...
Just antique glasses, yeah. Okay. Somebody's off the gray carpet, I think. Yeah. Remember, as we're going around the 2nd floor, this is the private side for the family. Downstairs was for visitors and guests. Up here was for family or very close friends. So I'm sure Lincoln and Mary would retreat to their rooms to think about the issues of the day, just like you might go to your room to think about the things going on in your life also. We're going to be going through Mary's room and then meeting in the back hallway. We'll see the boys' room next.
Looking at everyone. Somebody's room broke. What's that?
Keep looking to stay on the ground.
Bedrooms and stop down the windows. Hinge, because that hinge looks like the door. But about 80% of the inside of the home is original.
Did they actually strip like the siding on the door?
They probably they've repainted things like that over the years.
Children's room.
The windows, you got the ventilation.
Those are transoms and help with
Small. What did they say? Transoms.
Here is the boys' room. How many sons did the Lincolns have?
3.
4, actually, yeah. Robert, Eddie, Willie, and Tad. Robert, the oldest one, he was already out of the house away at school at Harvard. Second son had died at age 3 from consumption, or what we now know as tuberculosis. So it's just the 2 youngest sons, Willie and Tad. They shared this bedroom. They were about ages 7 and 11 at the time of the move. That second room down at the end of the hall is the hired girl's room. Hired girl would help Mrs. Lincoln do household chores, like the cooking and the cleaning. So kind of like a maid for the family. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What is that room?
The 2 closed doorways, this one and that one, are both closets. And that one's a bigger one, so they would have stored luggage and things like that in that closet.
So this is the kitchen.
I see a loaf of bread. They're cooking bacon.
What the stoves original.
Cool. Bacon, and you know, that is not real food.
I only could tell after I took a bite, but you're right.
Plastic. You know, or else.
Kitchen, it's a very typical kitchen of the time, and this is where Mary, with the help of that hired girl, would cook for the family's evening meals and parties. As you're looking around in this room, you notice they don't have all the modern conveniences like we're used to, the running water, electricity, so times are much different. But that stove that you see is actually the original wood stove that the family cooked on when they were here. They bought it right before they left to go to the White House. This is our last stop as a group. From here we're going to be in the backyard where you'll see the 2 pumps where the family got their water, also the preview where they went to the restroom. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But while you're back there, just try to think back on why Lincoln is such an important man of our history. And that's because he paved the way for all of us to live our version of the American dream, whatever your version might be. Watch your step going out this door here. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for coming. You've been a wonderful group.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Rainwater down your cistern, softer water for your cleaning, and the other's your well water, your drinking and your cooking water.
Yeah, why didn't you figure that out?
A lot of people are like, oh, it's hot and cold, right?
You bring that idea back to Anawan, you're going to be very popular. 2 pumps.
When you're finished looking around the backyard, you can exit that side gate. Remember those 2 exhibit homes you can visit. Have a great rest of your day.
No Sears catalog? Well, that was so long ago they probably ripped, the last page is gone.
That's the building near, that's the other hotel there.
This is the Lincoln home backyard. It's the only
This
home.
is the Lincoln M house.
This is the only home he ever actually owned.
Other times,
Lucky
he's
him.
living his life in the cabin.
I guess we'll get this. Now you are privy to the presidential privy. Go over there, Kurt.
I will gladly.
Yes, we'll do anything about these trips.
Oh, it does smell.
Right, Kurt, what's the poop on the president? All right, let's get out of here while we still can.
Excellent.
The side of the Lincoln house.
Watch out.
Thank you. Good direction, correct.
There was one, I think it could be in the corner here. Yeah, I think so. No, the one in the corner.
Obviously the front of the house, the tour group.